Hello everyone, welcome to Archimarathon. We are in Canberra. We are at the Australian War Memorial, specifically Anzac Hall by Denton Corker Marshall, 20 years ago. Why are we talking about this?
You're going to knock it down. Boom. Roll intro. Winner of the Zelman-Cohen Award for Architecture. Only 20 years old. Built for under $12 million. And I thought they were cops rolling up, but it's a taxi.
So paranoid, it's Canberra. Yeah. You can hear that noise in the background.
So they're going to knock this down. 20 years old, highly respected building. They've killed all the grass. There used to be beautiful
tussocks.
Yeah, with this wing, this metaphorical wing hanging in the background.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful shed, but it's just beautiful little twisted thing that looks like a propeller. Just, you know, a ghost of a war machine sitting in the landscape. It's very elegant, very beautiful, but essentially it's a shed. It's a giant shed.
And why? And that's its function. That was its brief. We need to put a whole heap of planes and
tanks and
relics from past conflicts, and we need to house them somewhere. $12 million 20 years ago. The government has just approved a few months ago to spend
$500 million.
$500 million on demolishing this and expanding the War Memorial.
And it's all fine to include the new veterans with the newer technologies and in the past wars since the Gulf War to be included in the exhibits, but it didn't need to demolish this building.
Yeah, well, I think that's a bit of political manipulation, though, that there are current and recent conflicts are represented at the War Memorial, but there has been this bit of a spin of like, there needs to be more space. Okay, if there needs to be more space, I'm kind of a beatnik. I don't really think we should, you know, celebrate war too much. It's definitely a commemoration of people that have suffered through war. But there's also other really interesting political arguments, such as why isn't there representation of the frontier wars? The wars from Europeans first settling here and Indigenous Australians defending their homeland. Like, why isn't that? So there's all of these political discussions, but at the end of the day, we've got an economic and architectural discussion. If you do need to expand this, why knock that down? A. But in a COVID Australia, in a COVID world, where the government's just announced the budget last night, where we're going to go into deficit of $161 billion, you know what? And they're taking people off JobKeeper, so there are so many people, disadvantaged people that are living in their cars and in extreme poverty. This current government thinks spending $500 million and knocking down a beautiful bit of architecture is a good idea. Seems like quite a bad idea.
And we talked a lot about sustainability and reusing what's there.
Yeah.
And it's a perfectly functional building. It doesn't house everything, but then, yeah, expansion, we can look into that.
Yeah.
And I think there are community consultations that people said, no, we should save this. But it's a political decision that they want to knock this down and do this other big thing.
I also read that there might be a sort of a Eurocentric decision as well, that the new $500 million structure is going to be this ornamental classical thing. Is that right?
Well, it's very grand. Because this is not grand. This is poetically, it's big, but it doesn't look big.
You know, metaphorically, it's a black crashed wing into the Australian hillside.
Yeah.
There's something that's kind of melancholy
and
mourning about it, which compared to the austere, you know, original structure, there's a really interesting discussion happening there.
What DCM have done, they've terminated the axis, you know, they've got a very symmetrical building, and they put a blade.
Yeah.
The blade wall kind of stops all that, and then behind there is this shed, whereas now it's back to the grand axis with a big glass roof, radiating out, very, very grand.
And one of, I think, Denton Corker Marshall's best.
Nice to be appreciated.
Siri jumps in all the time with great insight.
Nice to be appreciated. Oh, yes, after you said DCM. Yeah. There you go. Siri agrees.
I do think it's one of the best works that DCM's produced, even though it is just basically an elaborate shed. Anyway, should we be spending $500 million? Let's put that to one side. No, we shouldn't. Should we be knocking this down? Hell no. And there's only one chance left. Now it's been approved by federal parliament. It's now up to the local ACT, Canberra government, to give final approval on this. So this is the last ditch attempt, is everybody needs to write to the Canberra Council and say, do not support this at all, which I don't think they are, hopefully.
No. You can see the wings open, which is, yeah, it's the first time I've seen that open.
Yeah. So this is a real treat, because typically it's just that wing going around with the black walls coming down. And that is really seamless, the way that Denton Corker Marshall has detailed that. It's almost like John Denton's own house with those huge awnings that come out.
But the angle geometry and the way that it opens is so elegant.
And just two very simple pistons. Hecklers, always hecklers.
But it in itself is almost like a military machine.
Yeah. Delivering military machines in and out of that.
Yeah.
So when you go in there, you've come through the main axes of the original memorial, and you really are quite disorientated, aren't you? You come in and it's a black room full of these machines.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's an exhibition space. It's introverted.
Yeah.
You don't need to have views out and whatever.
And then the only respite to that is if you go upstairs into the cafe, it actually pierces back through that blade wall that you mentioned that separates the two, so you can then orientate yourself back. But up until that point, you're actually quite lost. It's introspective, dark, I think a space of mourning.
Poetic, yeah.
Yeah. Why knock this down? We'll show you some other footage. There are workers everywhere. There are a whole heap of temporary offices ready to go. There's heaps of machinery. There's some massive cranes. Shit's getting real. It's pity. It's actually pretty sad coming and having a look at it, seeing this beautiful hill that was once full of tussocks gone. This is difficult seeing this.
Yeah.
So this is on the main axes in Canberra. So Parliament House, if you follow the axes straight through, you can see Parliament House. So from Parliament House, you can also see the War Memorial, but you can't see this building. You just see that vertical dome of the original spire. So there's something about it which is being contrary to the existing structure. So there's a nice discussion and argument happening, not argument, there's a nice discussion happening between the two.
Let's have a look.
So this is a huge shed that houses massive military vehicles, planes, tanks and things like that. But look at the apparent scale from the outside. They have built this bank, which I couldn't have walked through previously because it would have been full of grasses, but they've made it from the outside seem so much smaller. And you can see the wing metaphor, can't you? And look how low it is. Like, I can easily touch that. And before they killed all the grass would have been about this high. So you only really just saw the blade coming out. Very different to the axial original building that was about celebrating at the end of the axes. This one's hiding in the landscape, but the size of the tanks and the planes that are buried under there, it's that TARDIS effect, isn't it, Kev?
Yeah.
From the outside, it seems quite small, but from the inside, it's a huge space, and it's a black space, so you're not really sure where it ends. So at one end, back where we came from, there was those sheds. You can see some of the sheds up here as well. Kev, the cynic in me makes me wonder whether this is all deliberate, whether they've let the grass die or killed the grass, and then put all of these work sheds around here. You know, it hasn't been cleaned for a long time. It's in disrepair.
This is definitely...
Yeah, there's survey markings. You know, is this manipulation to make this look like a worn, tired building?
Don't know.
Call me a cynic. I think I'm right.
So you can see the roof, how it goes from higher and dipping right back down at the lowest point. Of course, yes, it's still sunken underneath, but yeah, they're really taking that scale back down to as little as possible on this back street and towards the hill.
So from the street, that height of the street, if you're driving along or walking along, you'd only see the edge. It's only because we've come up about, 2 or 3 meters that we're actually able to read that roof.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's why it's got that sort of slight propeller twisting kind of quality.
Ah, yeah.
it comes down on that end as well. Whereas the center axis, yeah, that's the high point, and dips down, so the whole roof warps.
Yeah.
Very clever, simple, clever.
Well, 12 million bucks sounds like a lot, but for a huge cultural building, they've had to be very clever with their material selection and economic. They've done so beautifully.
It's a good shed.
Good shed, bro. In the Australian tradition.
It is.
Look at the
Big
size.
ass crane.
Big ass crane.
Ready to go. Ready to kill. Oh, wow. This angle.
So this is this blade wall you mentioned before that separates the new and the old.
Yeah, this is more the service end, I guess. The other end is the more ceremonial,
Yeah.
prettier end.
And so that blade is a stone wall, isn't it? So they've spent, of their limited budget, they spent a lot of money on the separation between the new and the old being stone. And then this is much more of a lightweight structure on this side.
It looked kind of metallic, but it's actually just fibre cement sheets.
Painted grey.
Painted grey, screwed on.
Yeah. So even though it's metaphorical, like a wing, it's also structurally like a wing.
Like a wing, it's light, yeah.
Yeah, economic, rational structure.
And riveted in.
Yeah, riveted into place. Kev. A security guard just came up to me and asked, why are you doing what you're doing? Which has happened too many times on this trip. Like, we're on public land shooting public buildings. And I quizzed him about it. And he said, no, it's got to come down. We need about 3 times more space. Need. It's interesting, the language. We need that. And I went, oh, do we? He said, yeah, and it's all for the greater good. So the greater good in Australia is spending $500 million on a war memorial that is quite good already, rather than helping house people and saving people from domestic violence. And
But even, like, sorry, you just need more space. Have you seen the land around?
there is plenty of space around. You don't need to knock down that building because we don't need to make space, do we?
No.
There's open space everywhere. It's such weird logic.
Go underground.
Some of the discussions with security guards that we've, like, just like we're living in 1984 in George Orwell sort of think speak. We need this for the greater good of the people.
That's the language they've been fed.
Yeah. Bullshit. Why don't we help those people less advantaged first before knocking down perfectly good sheds? I don't know. Seems simple in my mind. $500 million. I got to keep saying that.
So I'm distracted by the hexagon-shaped, can't see it, hexagon-shaped camo.
You can see it. It's right there.
Yeah, why is it? It's like the digital camo. It's like, oh, we need to like update the camo.
Yeah. So for an age that the enemy will understand.
Digital talk.
Yeah.
Because it's cyber warfare.
Yeah. So the boomers can't see that bit, but the millennials can see that bit.
Yeah.
Can't see that bit.
Can't see that bit.
Yeah.
Camo.
If you do, when you come to Canberra, do come to the War Memorial. It is actually amazing. It's beautifully curated. There is, with such sensitivity of the significant sacrifices of Australian military, it's definitely worth visiting. I just want to flag that. It is actually remarkable. But now's probably not the time to spend $500 million. I said it again.
What did you say? Say again. Say again.
Say it again. Preach, man. Hallelujah. Do not spend $500 million on this. Spend it on housing people. Maybe that. $500 million spent on
Housing people.
affordable housing. Jeez, wouldn't that be revolutionary?
Yeah.
Kev. And everybody watching, thanks for watching. Thank you so much. Get it? It's a dad joke. And I'm a dad, so I know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Hairy Crotch.